Make a Path presents Let's Talk. Welcome to Make a Path Presents. My name is Ronnie Hayes, and today, let's talk. Is Carl too old already on the TV show to fulfill his comic book storyline? Alright guys, this question comes from Nick01234 on Instagram. Listen guys, this is something a lot of fans are talking about. Is Carl already too old? Here's where I think, no, he might not be. Because in the comic book, the material works for a comic book. You have this kid who is almost as tall as the very gun he shoots. It works in the comic book, but it might seem completely unrealistic if you translate that to TV. What are we talking about? We're talking about certain scenes where Carl sneaks in, an M16 or whatever assault rifle he sneaks in to Negan's factory, and he lets loose and shoots a bunch of Negan's guys. Now, on TV, if Carl's the same age as he was in the comic book, that would most likely come off as unrealistic. However, if he gets a little older and he can handle that type of gun, they might now actually have the opportunity to have an authentic scene from the comic book. I think it's more realistic. I think it fits the comic book being brought to life onto the screen better. I'm not saying it should have been changed in the comic. It works well for that medium. I'm talking about on TV. I think this is part of the story. They could take advantage of an older Carl. Now, obviously, I would have to go back through all the old storyline and pick and choose what scenes might be negatively affected by the fact that Carl's older on the TV show now than he is in the comic. But the more I think about the scenes we see in the comic, I think they can get away with it. I think it would be, a clever thing to adopt the storyline from the comics and just tweak it a little bit. For example, Carl on the TV show looks like and I know there's some dispute about his age and whatever, but let's say he is in between that 15 years old to 18-year-old, and this is when we're getting to the Negan storyline. This isn't right now, currently. Now, that might be an interesting way to do the story, because now we have Negan and Carl, instead of a big, huge villain taking around a little child, being like a demented father figure or a demented best friend. Now we have a child who's growing into adulthood, so to speak, and you have this very influential role model that's a byproduct of the situation that he's now in. Negan could take him into the factory. Negan can show him his wives. Carl has been living in this apocalyptic world. He's really only been around Enid. We don't even know how well that story develops. For all we know, Enid could be part of the wolves. Or Enid could have ran away from the wolves. We don't know. But anyway, this could be a new interesting look into that relationship between Carl and Negan. Giving him life lessons. Showing him the wives. Teaching him how they live. Showing him what it's like to be a man, but Negan's version of a man. And this is where I'm going to be asking for your opinion. Pick parts of the story that you remember, or if you want to go back through and reread the story, pick parts of the story that you think will benefit from having an older Carl, as far as, like I mentioned, certain scenes being more realistic when it's brought to the screen, and then go through and pick out scenes that you think would be more negative having an older Carl than what we have in the comic book. Go through those, post them in the comment box, and let's see what we come up with. Let's see if we get more positives than we do get negatives. And like always, you're free to voice your opinion on anything. You don't have to do what I just suggested. So listen, go ahead and do that. I'll meet you down in the comments. I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.